So, welcome back to the 1760 sessions where we talk to founders, building systems and impact. I'm Harry, as you all know, from 1760. And today I'm joined by Katie Chapman, an award winning registered dietitian with nearly 18 years of experience who's built a dual business serving both individual clients and fellow practitioners. Katie specializes in gut health and hormonal health through her practice, Katie Chapman Nutrition, while also educating registered dietitians nationwide through Bariatric Nutrition Pro. She's worked with thousands of patients, led bariatric nutrition programs across 13 Kaiser permanent locations, and has earned national recognition for her evidence-based whole person approach to nutrition. I did say it was going to be a lengthy intro, Katie. Thank you
Yeah.
very much for being here. Did
Thank
I,
you.
did I miss
Thanks for
anything off?
having me. I don't
No, it's
think
not.
so. I was trying to think about my own history. I was like, yeah, I guess that covers it.
Yeah, it was like a list. It was like an award ceremony, and I was listing everything off.
Yes,
Um,
no detail.
Awesome. It's an absolute pleasure having you on. So I just wanted to kick off with a very rounded question. What led you to specialize in gut health and hormonal health after 18 years in nutrition?
Oh my goodness. Well, so I started out. We mentioned kind of bariatric surgery and metabolic surgery there, and that's where I started out in. And for those that don't know that terminology, it's like weight loss surgery. Think of it like that. So it's a change in someone's anatomy usually. And so after kind of my first parts of my dietetic career, I would say about 11 years, and then expertise, I just noticed how much, oh my gosh, that change in anatomy started to affect someone's gut. And so then that kind of led me to that pathway of geeking out on gut health and how does that signal all the other things in the body. And there's such a big hormonal and gut connection that you can't talk about one without the other. So yeah, so it's just kind of putting both of those together and really enjoying that space because it is so far reaching of just the communication system throughout the entire body. I don't know, I think it's like what led me to it, probably my curiosity and geeky nature that led
Yeah.
me down there.
And that always put like being curious is the best thing in the world. It leads you to great
Yeah.
things and understanding where you want to specialize in, like it happened for you. And you mentioned to me previously, and it's quite relevant to what you just said, that nutrition evolves, and
Mhm.
so does personal growth alongside that. How has your philosophy shifted over your career, especially in the past nine, with nutrition evolving?
Yeah. I think that, nutrition is such an interesting topic because it is an evolving science and also the personal growth part too. You can't have one without the other. And so, how have I evolved in all of this? I'd say that, at first when you first start out and you get your kind of your licensure and you do your board exam and all of that stuff, you have this really great foundational study of kind of like your body, its systems and how nutrition goes in there. But it's a bit rigid kind of framework, I would say. And as I've kind of gone on and gone about, I've been able over time to go, okay, let me take that framework. But as we're learning more and more, and I'll say like gut health, oh my gosh, like in the last 10 years, that's just exploded, and not only people talking about it, but in knowledge and study of it. And so you start going, oh my gosh, okay, I have this foundational knowledge that I know, but as we learn new things and as we discover new things, how do we bring those two together and how does that new knowledge kind of expand it? And so it's I would say I've shifted just not only, oh my gosh, knowledge and going, kind of going with that, but also I would say personally too, kind of with working with people, you get to experience so many different people's lives. So I think, at first your experience is very small because you're like, well, this is what I know and I do as a person. And when you start gaining that experience of working with different people, different aspects of their life, then you're like, oh, okay, I have to really pause and listen and really understand what that person's going through versus, okay, this is what I know, this is my personal experience, and having it very closed in that sense. So lots can
This
happen.
is where your curiosity must help so much when you're dealing with a new patient,
Yeah.
specifically your curiosity in the evolution of nutrition, and then applying
Hmm.
that to the patient and learning about them. I think last time we spoke about that sort of whole person approach, and you just touched on it then that you can't forget the person part. What does that mean in practice when you meet someone for the first time? Do you think?
Yeah, yeah. I think it's interesting because, I definitely have people who are like, okay, this is, I'm only going to tell you these one things about what I eat and go. And you're like, "Ooh, hold on." It's like, I wanna get to know what your life looks like, and I wanna get to know because I am thinking all the different system part of it, and, meaning like, okay, do we have thyroid parts going on? Do we have nervous system that is affecting the gut, which then affects how you eat? Like, I'm domino effects that could be happening internally, so I'm really wanting to walk through, like, how does that look like for you? What's going on there? What's happening here? And then also the reality part, because nutrition is, you have to be realistic with nutrition. So what that may mean, and I give this like, just if we visualize this example, is that if I'm saying like, okay, or anyone, usually I don't say this, but someone is saying,
Yeah,
"Hey,
yeah,
all right, this is how you should eat. Like, this is what you need to eat in the morning. This is the, like, perfect thing." And it is long and complicated. And that person's life is like, "Okay, I get up. I have 4 kids that I have to, like, get together, get ready, get out the door before, for them to go to school, before I go to work." And I'm sitting there going like, "Okay, I want you to make this thing for 30 minutes and
yeah.
sit and do that." That's not realistic. That could be, the most perfect world, but, like, that's not realistic for that person. And so I need to know those aspects too because of the reality part of like, okay, well, we could still get something that's gonna be helpful, like, fill those nutritional needs or what we need to do at that time, but wow, that's a busy time. There's a lot happening there. Let's figure out what we can do and how we can make this work realistically. So, lot to know.
Yeah, I think you touched on something so important there. It's like nutrition has to fit around people's lives. Like the
Mhm.
opportunity to eat food on the go when you're moving around it's so easy.
Mhm.
Not only fast food, obviously there are healthy food options now and
Yeah.
then, but it's do you give advice to someone that's potentially on the move a lot? They work in the city, they don't have time to cook because they have kids they've got to look after, and then they've got to go to a 9 to 5 desk job. How does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. That's part of the reality part, and so there is this part of, hey, when you cook at home, you have more, there's less kind of stuff usually added to it just in the grand nature of it, and it's a bit healthier. So, one, is that a possibility? Could we do some things on the weekend? Just wanting to know what we have available to us, yes or no, But if we are and that can help fill in some gaps. But then if we are moving around in the city, is that gonna be like, are you having lunch, like, for work, and is that out? Or is it something that is a grab and go? Like, some of those aspects, and then what are your choices? What needs are we trying to fill in? Are we just looking at protein? Are we looking at, "All right, this is a better place to get food from versus another?" Like, we need to get nitty-gritty with that, especially with some of those choices, but absolutely, like, managing that through is really helpful because what a lot of people tend to do is they'll either skip or wait till they get so hungry that it's almost like the light switch of like your brain turns off of like, oh, I'm gonna actually pause and figure out a choice that's gonna be be nurturing for my body. That light switch goes off when you're hungry. It just does for everyone, including me. So
I'm evidence of that as well.
yeah, so we wanna get a rhythm nicely set up so we're not reaching that point, and we have some things just in our tool belt or in our emergency kit or what we're doing day to day, so we're not getting to these really, really stuck points that tends to have things kind of feel like it falls apart for people.
Yeah, and look, I resonate with everything you're saying highly. I've been in those positions before.
Yeah,
I feel like I've been trying to diet for the past 10 plus years, and I'm only just getting the hang of it now. I've only just
yeah.
started eating breakfast again. Um,
Yeah,
but
yeah, I mean, it's true, it's all of
it's
us
hard.
are.
It's
It's
so hard.
hard.
Am
Yeah.
am I correct in thinking that I think I spoke about this on another podcast with someone, that recently the food pyramid has been switched round in the US? Because we spoke about nutrition evolving, and it's less focused on, your carbs. It's more about getting in the healthy fats and the healthy red meat, for example. Correct me if I'm wrong here. You know a lot more than
So,
I do.
yeah, yeah, I mean, I think, definitely, like, yes, there's been some switch around with that. Is it fully vetted or all evidence-based? No. So there's nuances to it. Even when it was flipped the other way, where it was more carbohydrates at the bottom, like, there was nuances to that too. Like, as much as like I was like, oh, okay, carbohydrates all at the bottom. That's like, all right, let's look at what those carbohydrates are. That's
Yeah,
not
yeah, yeah.
necessarily meaning like, I don't know, like a donut. You know what I mean? So I think there's nuances to everything, but yes, there's been a flip. Again, I've been doing this for 18 years, so I have seen it from where it was before and then switch from that, like, then the rules within the pyramid switched a little and now it's switched upside down. I'm sure I'll see it switched around in a different shape at some point. Like, it just,
Yeah.
it's
It
something that is
it's great
evolving.
to see it move, but there's not enough education around it, essentially.
Correct, correct. I mean, there are nuances to it, and it it a bit oversimplifies it for my kind of personal taste. So it's hard for me to kind of use it really effectively in practice.
How many
Um,
times does someone say to you, "Oh, but the food pyramid tells me this," as an objection?
none,
Okay.
none, none. I think people, at least, I I think the last time that I did like food pyramid, like, or at least like I learned it wasn't a pyramid at the time, but when I was in grade school, like I learned that aspect. And so I think more so like the educational aspect is for kind of like younger audience, and I see adults. So more adults are like, okay, hey, I looked this up, I tried this, I heard this, my friends talked about this. Like, there's so much actual nutrition information out there that
There is.
that's actually not always better either. um
I
uh,
think there's too much out there, if I'm honest.
uh-huh.
I'm gonna be honest with you,
Overload.
it's an amazing thing that the nutrition and the wellness space is growing, and it's one of the
Mhm.
fastest growing industries at the moment. But the thing is, when I look to think about myself and I look to better my life, I feel like sometimes there are too many options out there that I can't choose, so I don't end up doing anything.
Yep, yep. It's information overload. Like, I mean, I know that like people will come to me and it's like, okay, but I heard this and I tried this and I'm on all these supplements and I don't know if they're helping or not helping, or then they're trying to manage their supplements and then they look it up and they're like, this supplement is good for all of these things, and I'm like, yeah, it could be, but we're looking at form, looking at amount, we're looking at what it's doing for you, and also in essence with other things don't act alone. So just because you pull out a nutrient doesn't mean that it's going to do something amazing. because oftentimes they work on as like they work
You do
together. Themes are
utilize that.
friends.
And yeah, I didn't even know about this till about a year ago, things being friends, taking certain specific, like, cod liver oil with something else because they're gonna work together. I still don't even know the timings of half the things I'm taking, which
Okay.
is and then I'm finding at
Right.
the moment, I don't know if this is relevant to a lot of your clients you work with. I think there's a lot of misinformation on social media at the moment, and there's a lot of fads, and it's encourages you to do something healthy, but not in the right way.
You correct. Yeah. I can always tell when there's a fad because then all of a sudden it's like, I'm like, huh, this is the third time someone this week has mentioned this. And then
Yeah.
I have to go look it up and be like, okay, what's going on? What's going on in this space? Because it's so rampant and not the information is always partial or a nugget. And so when really understanding the scope and depth isn't there, it doesn't end up being something that is necessarily helpful and even for some people harmful for their health and their wellness. It's goodness, I mean, that's why everyone is individual. I get asked all the time, like, what is your program? And I'm like, I don't have a set program because you're seeing that person individually and what they, even though I can say gut health and hormone health, and those are really big umbrellas. I'm like, okay, what's going on? Like, are we talking bloating? Okay, wait, how's your hormones? Like, how are you feeling? How's your fatigue? Like we're layered in all of this and figuring out where those all of those things interact is so important for a person individually.
Very, very interesting. So I wanted to share something with everyone. During our pre-call, when first met with Katie, I was going through something. My nervous system had actually crashed. And because of Katie, I was able to understand that it was due to dietary changes that I didn't have the knowledge of in the first place. I just couldn't really put my finger on it. Katie, can you explain for us the connection between nutrition and the nervous system? Because it was incredibly interesting to find out why I was feeling in a certain way.
Sure, sure. So, gosh, I can go into this in depth, but let me get you guys a little bit of highlights, okay? So, one thing is that when we talk about the nervous system, everyone always thinks of cortisol. Oftentimes, they think of like cortisol as like bad, like, oh my gosh, I don't want high cortisol. And what cortisol, let's say in a non-high or a, regulated pattern is needed. We need free cortisol in our body. That's what rules our circadian rhythm. So cortisol is actually what tells us in our body to go, hey, it's time to wake up and be a person around the world. And okay, let's come down in the afternoon, evening and go to bed. That cortisol actually rules that. So we need a bit of cortisol roaming around in our
Yeah,
body. But what our nervous system does is it starts to regulate based upon stress. And when we think of stress, we always think of like external stress, usually. We think of like work and life and I don't know, school and whatever, right? We think of that part, like, oh my gosh, okay, I have to go and visit these people and that's really stressful for me, okay? That's what we think of, or I have a work project and that's really stressful, or my work is stressful overall. That's how we most of the time interpret stress. Our body has reacts to external stress like that, but it also reacts to internal stress too. And it can't necessarily tell the difference. So, internal stress can be nutrition. So, maybe a lack of nutrients, or perhaps major shift in nutrients that doesn't give our body and our cells what it needs to function, or even an overabundance of nutrients. So, like too much, even if it's a good thing, too much of a good thing is not great. Sleep, lack of sleep or too much sleep, that is an internal stressor for us. Blood sugar regulation, that's an internal stress for our body and can throw off our nervous system. And so our body is constantly bodies are amazing because they are just trying to adapt and do so many things to keep us running and all the shifts of everything internal and external life aspects. But when you were talking to me last time, that's why I was just like, okay, hey, if we do these really big shifts in nutrition or shifts in what we're doing, let's say like nutrient wise and how we fuel, and chronically, that our body can go, oh my gosh, like I'm not getting what I need to just function. And on a cell level, the tiniest little part to make our cells kind of run and do things, if it's not getting things to run, that's stressful for your nervous system. And it will start to try to, hey, I got you. I'm gonna I'm gonna overdo things to make sure that you're awake and you can survive. But imagine like if we were all running on a treadmill, how long we could run for. And if we were doing that for 48, we were running on a treadmill for 48 hours. Like just imagine that. Like, holy cow, we're going to get tired out. And over time, our nervous system can just kind of go, oh, I'm not going to produce any free cortisol to get you awake and alive during the day because I have been running and I just, I can't do it anymore.
You slow down.
And it just slows down.
Yeah. And we
So,
spoke about time, it was like the fast moving train. This is pretty much what
hmm
you're now.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's that fast moving train, and you like it's going in that direction. And like, first to kind of repair it, like you first, almost just like stop that fast moving train. And it takes time to get out of that stressful part or your body to feel like it's out of that stressful part.
What are some mechanisms that you advise to people to say slow down and reverse that train?
Yeah, so I mean, a couple things that we could like first and foremost, we want to understand like okay, why is that like is it external, internal, a little bit of both so we can actually address what's going on there. So that's first and foremost. Let's just get like what that baseline is. Is it blood sugar regulation that's really off or is it just a lack of nutrients? We want to fill in that blank. But then some other things that we can do too is one is just kind of reteaching that circadian rhythm. So I call them like bookends of someone's day, but like I really want to go like, okay, I'm going to have something in the morning to help start to get that rise again for someone. If their nervous system is flatlined. If someone wakes up and their nervous system is overabundant, so they wake up anxious, or overabundant, then I might do something quieting in the morning to help that rise be more gentle. So I'll do something morning and I'll do something night because I want that sleep time to also be really, really restful in that way. It looks like you're like,
Yeah, no, I was just thinking, what's the
yeah,
nutrition side of it though, for the morning and
yeah,
night?
yeah. So with the nutrition side of it, so in that morning time, the main thing that I'm looking at morning time is usually within around 90 minutes of waking up, I'm wanting a good protein, fat, and a bit of fiber. Because of that fact that like I'm trying to get some really nice regulation in the morning because you slept all night. Hopefully someone slept all night. So that's kind of the first thing that you're eating. So we don't want our blood sugars or our nervous system to be popped up, for it to be more carbohydrate forward, sugar forward. And so we want something that's going to be really, really stabilizing. So I would think protein, fat, fiber in my morning. And then as we go to our other kind of bookend of the day, I actually want a really nice break of no eating before someone goes to bed. So I want that last meal to be about 3 hours before someone goes to bed. And part of that reason is that I don't want that digestion to happen overnight. I don't want your body to have to be stimulated to do a function overnight. I also don't want stimulation of even like someone more wakefulness. So then they can't go to bed at night. And so there's that kind of like that break in that window there for someone. And so I always say like last meal, because for a lot of people that kind of makes sense. They go, oh, I ate dinner, and then hey, 3-4 hours later I'm going to bed. Right? So with that, I always want that dinner to be well rounded and a bit more, typically more veggie focused, so I can get more of my minerals, my like vitamins and minerals in. And those are tending to be more in my foods that have that bright color, which is typically my veggies. So little nuances, but
Yeah,
you
this is
know,
amazing. I'm just
yeah.
thinking, always thinking about how I can optimize my own life.
Yeah,
A lot of people out there listening will be thinking the exact same thing. So it's very, very interesting because
yeah.
I don't even, you don't even, sometimes you don't even think about it when you go to cook a meal about what's going to be impacting me at a certain time. And specifically people who are having problems with their nervous system. And I think the major problem with the nervous system is the lack of education around it, because
Oh,
I didn't
sure.
know that that was even a specific problem to myself. There's
Yeah,
probably other people's experiencing their nervous system crashing and having zero idea that this is what it is
yeah.
and this is why it's happening.
Yeah.
Uh,
I always think if someone tells me, if I talk about like sleep, and then I'll kind of be like, hey, like, how are you feeling during the day? Like, if someone says, like, I wake up and I wake up tired and then I'm just kind of like flatlined all throughout the day, that's tells me so much about their circadian rhythm, which hence tells me about their nervous system.
yeah,
So I was just like, "Oh, we're not getting a rise during our day." Like that like pump of cortisol isn't happening, or we have a lot of cortisol stuck in our tissues, so like it's signaling to be like, oh, we have enough, so don't produce more. That's what you'll usually see in someone under a chronic stress picture, is a lot's kind of stuck in their tissues. And so it will tell their body like, hey, don't produce anymore because we already have enough, because from a tissue level it looks like we got enough happening. So yeah, it's an interesting thing that you're right. People just don't think about, like, we kind of think about fight or flight, or we know stress is part of the picture, but we
yeah,
don't know that stress is internal and external as well.
yeah. It's like it's too hard to tell. So look,
Yeah.
I now want to talk about your business and the
Okay.
evolution of it and the dual model. I know you're running two businesses at the moment, pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Individual
Like,
coaching and professional education. As someone who's been both a clinical practitioner and now an educator of other RDs, what gap were you filling in professional education?
yeah, so as I had mentioned kind of earlier, like my background was all in like metabolic and bariatric surgery, which I
Yeah,
still, I still do and have that knowledge base of. And so when I kind of got into that field as as an early dietitian, I recognize that that was not a big point of study, and as far as nuance study in my education. And so oftentimes, like, I got a job and was like, okay, I'm ready to be in there. And then realized like, oh my gosh, I don't know enough about this and the ins and outs. And there's not really education there.
yeah,
And so I ended up kind of pouring again the geeky curiosity side of me, like kind of diving in there, and becoming much more of like a subject matter expert in that field. And so then really realizing, as I'm training other people in my kind of medical center that I worked for years, after leaving that medical center, I was like, there was such a need for it there. There's probably a need for it out there for others too. And so really wanting to make sure that I just tuned into that, not only from a, let's say, evidence-based education side, but also with that that kind of format, they get coaching with me too, which then draws upon there's the experience part of it too, that that is really helpful, because
Yeah,
usually
cool.
you're the only dietitian in that one thing, and you're like, "Oh, where do I go with this question?" And so, I've been there.
Okay. It sounds like curiosity has helped you throughout your career. Uh,
Somehow, me just kind of being like, "Oh, I don't know about this. Let me dive into this and figure it
yeah.
out," has just brought me to so many different levels.
How do you balance the one-on-one client work with then also, staying up to date with the evolving nutrition science and scaling your knowledge through courses and education? Is it a tough balance or does it fit in with each other naturally, do you think?
I mean, it's always a bit of a juggle. Sometimes things take more of your energy than other times. I think that I'm always, from like, let's say if we're talking like, how do I manage my schedule? I have blocks. I definitely have to block out like this is client time,
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is business time, and then here this is education time. And so I have to make sure that like I'm kind of on top of my personal self to make sure that I'm kind of going in those different speeds to be able to fill in all the blanks. Because you're exactly right. Like if if you're kind of not paying attention, there is this evolving, I mean, it's an evolving field. And not only is it just like the education part, but also it might be like, what's going on in the world right now, or what's the fads that are coming up?
Yeah.
Because I also want to speak really thoughtfully and effectively for that. Because typically a fad is just like, hey, here's this thing, and usually the information is like that much of the big picture. And so it's not always necessarily wrong. And I want to be able to speak to like, okay, here are the things that are like true about that product or that diet or that statement.
Yeah.
However, this is the picture and this is what it means for you. And so sometimes it's just making sure that I'm always going like, all right, what's out there? Like I know this
You need
thing
to stay
and
on you need to just take
whew,
my phone and go you need to take my phone and go through my Instagram and TikTok. You'll see
um,
every latest fad in there,
a-
trust me.
all of it, all of it. And so I'm always just wanting to, make sure that I'm on the part of just also going, yeah, let's have a thoughtful conversation about it because, typically, as I said, typically with fads, it's not like it's like all of it's, oh my gosh, nonsense. It's
Yeah,
just
it's a reason it's
this,
bad. Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
This is the thing. And everyone thinks it goes for this, it goes for everything. And you're like, oh, wait, hold on. This is probably why it isn't working for you or is actually not helping you, or it might be helping you a little bit, but wow, could we make it better?
Yeah. So looking ahead 3 to 5 years, how do you envision scaling both sides of your business then?
Goodness. Well, I mean, I think that um, individual consultations and counseling. I have another dietitian that works with me who is awesome. So honestly, as scaling that is also getting more people to be able to serve more people. And then also on top of that, combining most of where people kind of get us and find us is usually either word of mouth or other practitioners. So I like to keep my relationships with my other practitioners really strong, because people do feel better when there's
Yeah.
team
Yeah, of course.
involvement. Yeah. So
100%. I need
go ahead.
sorry,
Yeah.
go on.
Sorry.
You go, please. You go, please.
Yeah.
You're the guest.
Yeah, no, 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 but I mean, no, you're right. Like I just right with anything, better with that team approach. And so there's kind of that part of it, and that's what I would want to continue to do. I think on the other part of this side of education, and I have a course, but it's interesting. I actually also get hired to as well to actually go and publicly speak and educate at like
Yes.
conferences too.
You've got one
So
coming
there's
up.
I do in like 3 weeks. So I'm working on that today. That's part of my block today.
Yeah.
So, so we, I think with the education kind of part and piece of it and continue, I really enjoy that. So continuing to make sure that like I'm up to speed, I'm educated, and also getting, kind of making sure that I'm still part of the different conferences that I've been a part of for
Very good for
years.
networking and just probably
So
learning about what's new on the
yeah,
market, I assume. But
yeah, yeah.
part of your job I'm most jealous of is the education piece, just because it's understanding why certain things are popular. And we spoke about fads, and I find that really, really interesting. So I have one final question for you.
Okay.
If you had unlimited time and resources, what's the next big initiative that you'd launch?
Oh my goodness. Um, ooh, it's a big question. Unlimited resources. I mean, I think that like I'll be honest, I haven't thought about that before. So as you're putting me on the spot, I think what's been interesting about our conversation today is
Yeah.
that the education part for much more like consumers, I'd say,
Yeah.
right? And almost, I would almost think it would be interesting to have almost somewhat of a like a think tank or almost of an education piece that is really, really dedicated to walking through just what is out there. And getting more of a grander sense of that for people who are really going like, "Okay, no, I wanna know the ins and outs of this. I heard this thing, but I wanna have that broken down for me in an understandable way of how it could impact me positively, how it could impact me negatively, and a much better resource to come to versus all the stuff out there."
Honestly, I'm fully behind that, and it's making it consumer friendly, essentially. It's I don't know how, and probably in a digestible format that everyone can understand. So I'm fully supporting this, Katie. Been a fantastic conversation, and I could talk about this topic for hours and hours and hours because it's fascinating. And I love how you think about nutrition as both sort of like whole person, so it's like a science and an art at the same time. Um, so yeah, thank you very, very much for joining us, and I'm excited to publish this one out, and I'll include any links that Katie wants me to below to her website and so forth. And looking forward to it. Thank you very much, Katie.
Thank you so much. This is wonderful.
Cheers, Katie.
Thanks.